Time to clean a dirty loop. Welcome to Simple Run. This episode is going to be essentially cleaning the loop. Now, not all of these parts will be going into my next build, but you don't want to put them away, dirty like this either. So I'm going to go through and disassemble what needs disassembled and soak some parts and clean some parts and scrub some parts, and hopefully when I'm done, it all looks rather newish, or at least better than it does. Now, if you've seen the previous video, you'll know that this is 2 years of no maintenance. So this loop never got cleaned, never changed the fluid. I didn't even dust the computer. It was really negligent on my part, but here we are. So that just created a little more work for me. Now, what I have in here is just distilled water with, a squirt of Dawn dish soap. And this will be to kind of scrub and loosen everything up, and then I'll go through and rinse it with distilled water. I did warm this up a little bit to kind of help loosen everything up, but it's not hot by any means. And then, of course, a toothbrush. I've also got instructions on taking the blocks off, just, in case I forget. I think that pretty much sums up what we're doing here, so don't forget to subscribe. Not only am I going through cleaning this and I did the teardown, but I'm also gonna cram a lot of stuff in the Meshalicious, along with do some custom brackets for fans. I'm trying to fit 3 140s, clearly not within the case, but on the case. I've also got possibly a display. Still haven't figured out Reservoir, so you're gonna also take a ride with me on fitting stuff in there, taking measurements, and really figuring out how to set up the loop so that I don't run into this issue again, like I did with the Shift X and it being, a pain to maintenance, so I just didn't maintenance it. I'm hoping to avoid that trend with that one. Now that I've rambled on, let's get to cleaning this stuff. So I think the easiest place to start is going to be with the Reservoir. Now, as you can tell, there's still some liquid on there and it's not quite clean. But luckily, this is all acetyl, so it should be just fine in the distilled water. One thing as well, which I might need to actually get a tool to do it, is I really need to be getting these O-rings out and giving them a good cleaning as well. Now the goal, of course, with that is to not damage them. So I'm just going to use a little flat tipper from my iFixit kit and reach in there like that. Get that off there. Give it a good rinse. And just kind of pat it dry. And dry it off really well. Make sure there's no residue. Now you want to watch too and make sure that there's no cracking, there's no splitting, there's no cuts in it. O-rings are very important with your liquid system, so if you don't take care of them, that's where you're going to find your leaks. So remember that on your fittings, or all of these have gaskets as well. And that's what's preventing your liquids from going everywhere when you've got plastic on plastic. So let's get this disassembled so I can get this tube in here soaking. So one really nice thing about the heat killer parts is, it's all acetyl. So with that, most of these parts weren't really in contact with the liquid, so they're basically clean, so I can just give them a rinse and dry them off. Now that's not going to be the case for all of the parts, as I'll show you here in a second. But it's definitely the case for some of them. And you can clean as much as you want. The goal is to be clean. But the main thing you're looking for is getting rid of any residue, any buildup. Hopefully being able to remove discoloration, which you're not really going to see on these at all. In fact, even the O-rings still look really, really good. Now you can tell which O-ring was at the bottom. is it's seen a lot more life. I didn't have anything coming through the top of this, so really the top wasn't affected. And I probably didn't put as much, I didn't top it off like I probably should have. But it worked nice for clearing all the air bubbles out of the system as well. So that leaves the acetyl top, which, you know, very basic construction, easy to clean. Rinse it off in there, dry it off, and you're good to go. You also want to make sure to get any buildup anywhere where your O-rings were sitting as well, so that you still have a good seal once you put them back in place. Now there's a good chance that this heat killer is not going to fit in the case. In fact, I'm almost positive it won't. But I still want it cleaned up because, you know, I'll probably use it again another time just because it's one of my favorite looking reservoirs. This one you can see a little bit of liquid got in there where your O-ring is, but none of it dried up, none of it's crusty, none of it's going to take scrubbing, just a good rinse and a good dry. So of course these arms never actually touch the liquid, but the bottom of this guy is kind of crusty. So we're gonna have to pop these guys off so we can give that a good cleaning. And I'll probably give these a good rinse too, just to, you know, get them cleaned up again. Now I would recommend rinsing these well with just distilled water if you're using soap, so that afterwards you don't have any soap in your system. So definitely not something you want. So I'm just going to give these a quick rinse. That's one of the things I really like about acetyl, is just how good it looks. The simple cleaning. In fact, these might actually be metal too. These ones are. So you got acetyl parts and some metal parts. It is quite a weighty construction. So now this is just essentially the top for the D5 pump. And as you can tell, it's quite crusty. So I'm going to get these two screws out of here, see how far this comes apart, and this one I'm gonna let soak for a little bit. So with that, this guy comes off. And as you can see, there's a decent amount of buildup on here that actually might come off rather easy. So I gotta say, so far I am impressed with EK's fluid. Now, yeah, it broke down. You know, it's opaque. They tell you to switch it out every 6 months. I did not do it. I ran it for 2 years. But it didn't clog up the system. And the residue that it left behind, so far, comes off rather easy. Hopefully I don't eat those words later. But at this point, it comes off rather easy. This plate's practically back to looking brand new already. Now this one I'm a little more concerned about, just because there is some stuff in here, but it's an acetyl block. So none of this stained. You can definitely tell where the opaque in the liquid went. But this should be rather straightforward to rinse out too. Now there is a pump O-ring on the bottom that I do need to get out of here first. Simple rinse on that, and you can tell the difference between the two O-rings as well. So make sure you're putting them back where you had got them. So with this one, I am going to get the toothbrush in here a little bit. Work on scrubbing out any of the areas where you can see any type of a liquid buildup. But from what I can tell so far, I don't know if it's thanks to the heat killer materials or just how nice it is to clean EK fluids. These parts seem to be cleaning rather easily. For your ports, I probably should have got, you know, a pipe cleaner to kind of get in there and get those better. But even they came clean rather easily as well. Good as new. I'm actually really happy with that. You can see the machine linings again. So now that leaves for the heat killer this tube, which, man, that thing is thick. I dropped this off the table the other day and thought it was gonna break. Now I see why it didn't. And then the pump. So never quite taken one of these apart, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. But it should just be kind of a magnetic ball, and you want to make sure to take this out because, as you can see, there's still liquid in there. You do have a little bit of buildup in here. But this is also doing all the work of the system, so I'm not too surprised. And once again, came off rather easy. So get that cleaned off, dried off. Now you want to remember not to run these dry. And the main reason, as you can see, is it is metal on metal. So if there's no liquid in there, you are just grinding that metal essentially together. Nice and clean in there, nice and clean in there. Magnetic right back on there, and we're good to go. Now the part I've been wondering about is how well is this gonna clean? That is disgusting. But like everything else so far, it just rinses right off. Now I was really thinking about going with a different brand of fluid for my next build. But this EK stuff just cleans so nice, even after 2 years of just running this system raw. Very happy with how, not only how well it cleans up, how easily it cleans up. It's not a Windex clean, but I'm happy with it. Looks new again. So now this is clean. I'm gonna get that reassembled and stored away, and then we can start on radiators maybe. Maybe not, I don't know. Start on the next thing. Welcome back. This is day 2 for me, and well, I don't honestly remember where I left off yesterday. So today I decided I would take apart the CPU monoblock. And well, I found all the buildup in the crusties. So rather straightforward to take apart. I do have little O-rings in here I need to get out and get clean. You also have the parts in here that come out, like this guy, and then I'll have to clean these fins up really well. But as you can see, this is where a lot of the buildup ended up, and I'm probably going to see similar results when I get into the GPU block. I'm trying not to make this video carry on too long, but it is a considerable amount of work and a lot of different parts, so I might skip a little more work or try some B-roll or something to get you through this. So my next step with this is to get the O-rings out, clean them, scrub this block. If it comes clean as easily as the heat killer did, then this shouldn't take very long at all. And then I can kick into tearing into the graphics card, which is a little more labor intensive. So let's get at it. So I did notice I did miss a step on taking this down one more part further, but I believe I'm good where I'm at. I don't think I'm going to have any issues. There we go. Simple as that. Well, now it's apart. Might as well clean it. Don't forget to thoroughly inspect your gaskets. You want to make sure that 1, they're making a good seal, but 2, that they're not cracked or ripped or dried out or anything like that. For most jobs like this, it would probably be best to replace these gaskets, but I don't have replacements, so I'm gonna, go with this. I will be leak testing the new system before I start running anything through it. And once again, EK fluid just comes right off even after 2 years. These O-rings I'm a little more nervous about, but they're still flexible and there's no rips, so I should be good. If I ever tear into this block again, it will 100% need new gaskets and O-rings. Well, it's not exactly perfect, but looks pretty damn good. Just gotta finish these O-rings up, get this put back together, get it back on the motherboard, and then it'll be graphics card time. And I think I'm gonna do that off camera just because, well, it's kind of just repeating the same things I've been doing. So, I'll be back when it's time for the radiators and the wrap up. Okay, this is now day 3 of cleaning. You know, the joys of working 10 hours a day and having 3 kids, you don't get much time for this kind of stuff. So it's been about, 2 hours a night. But monoblock looks amazing. Graphics card looks amazing. Heat killer looks brand new again. Might have to take a little bit of Windex to the inside of that tube and maybe just distilled water. I don't know. We'll see. Either way, it's probably not getting used in my next build, sadly, so I'll have to take her out of storage one day and clean her up again. Now, the only thing I have left are the radiators. Now, I'm not really going to record any of that work because, well, I don't know that it's going to be that beneficial. My plan is to take a funnel, some stoppers, put nice hot water in there, distilled water. I'm going to just warm it up in the microwave, pour some in here, swish it around, empty it, and I'm going to repeat until I'm happy with how the water that comes out looks. Now, the inside of these are just plain copper, so there's not a whole lot you can really do. You can't get in there and scrub them or anything like that. So it's kind of just getting the water in there, clearing anything out, and calling it a day. Now with that, that'll be the wrap up of the cleaning. So, I would like to say don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Now from here, I will be moving forward with building in the Meshalicious, where it still kills me. Feel free to comment down below with thoughts on what to do with the build. I am cramming these 2 in there. I have a nice 280 rad in there, and 3 140 fans I'm gonna try and mount on the outside and get creative in that. But I plan on bringing you through that process of my trials and tribulations, let's call it, as I mount everything in there, see how it fits, see what I can do, and really utilize as much of that case as possible. Now, it's probably going to be one of those cases that ends up looking overly cluttered, but I'm going to try my best to avoid that. We'll see how that goes. From there, thank you for sticking along with this wild ride. We'll see you next time.